Whoops. Hold on. Totally forgot one thing. Gosh, flying through the day. Hold on, guys. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm plugging my headphone. It has been a busy day. Don't know if you guys can hear me. I'm going to change you over to this, hopefully. Ah, thank you, Beth. Okay, let's see. Reconnecting. Now that I got the headphones on. Dimple, tell me if you can hear me now. Can you hear me now? Beth said it before I put the headphones in and turned them on. They're so easy to forget. Thank you, Beth. Okay, how are you guys? Everybody doing okay with the weather? Even our southern friends are like cold. And some of it's been really bad, right? It's just terrible. I think I heard that in New York City. What a lovely place to go. Not. Last I'd heard, like 10 people, homeless people, froze to death. And then the total death might have been 16. I don't know if they were all homeless, so maybe it went up. It's just horrible when you keep them on the streets like that. I don't know. Okay. Dimple's in the house. Dimple looks like she was the first one in. Hope you're doing good, Dimple. CG's in the house. Jen Me's in the house. Happy Wednesday, Jen Me. My favorite day of the week. Old Grizz is in the house. Old Grizz, do I know you separately from here? Just wondering, since you're from Montana. The boss is in the house. Awesome. Good to see all you guys back. Dion is in the house. Very good. Beth is in the house. I love to see old friends. This is great. Carrie's in the house. Hi, Carrie. Rolando's here. Rat's Nest. Hey, stranger. Okay. Is that like 2 weeks in a row, Rat's Nest, or just 2 times in the last month that you've blessed us with your presence? Either way, it's... Oh, what? Didn't like that. What are you doing? Say hi to everybody. Yo, you want cookie? Okay. I'm not even going to tell you what kind of people food I share to her, because she will be demanding. If she sees you eat in the kitchen, you're sitting on the other side, she's on the other side of the room, and she'll go, hey! And then she'll go, cracker, regardless of what you're eating. Cracker. Trying to get her to differentiate on things, but, you know, she is an old dog like myself, and it's kind of hard to teach us new things. All right, so the shutdown is over. Don't know if that's good or bad, considering, but it is over. I popped out a video right when it started. God, it probably came out yesterday. I think I did it Monday night, but that you guys never really have to worry about that. No matter what, I mean, no matter what the silly stuff you're going to see on the internet, don't let it freak you out, because payments always continue to be made. I just think people borrow worry where they don't need to. Just focus on building your case if you have it, and if you've already completed your case, the best. Enjoy. Okay. And try to feel good. All right. So CG has the first possible question. Let's see. Good to see you again, CG. Question about widowed children in care. Okay. You're 48, or somebody is. Applying for SSD DI now. 49. All right. Are you 48 now or 49? Now 49. So maybe when you applied for SSDI, you were 48. You've turned 49. You turned 50 at the end of the year. So maybe next end of 2026. Am I getting that right? All right. You're currently in step 3. So as you all might know, step 3 is the longest one, because that's when they're getting all your medical records and possibly scheduling you for a CE. It eventually goes to the medical expert that they have to figure out what your RFC is, all that fun stuff. And just for those that don't know, when you are a widow of someone who was insured for Social Security. They weren't disabled, but they had made enough credit so that one day, no matter what, even if they stopped working, they could get retirement. That person passes away. The spouse, the widow, in this case, is under 50. There is no widow's benefit under 60 unless you're between 50 and 60 and can prove you too are disabled. However, widow, children, and care can be at any age as long as you have children under 16 that you care for, so they're in your custody and all that, live with you. Then you can get your own piece of the benefit from the worker spouse that passed away's family max. And of course, the children would be getting, there are times when there's so many people that could take a bunch of kids and the mom or the dad that it's getting spread out amongst them all, but it's all still in the same household. And I think that's the point. If it's one child and a widow caring for that child, hey, we hear you. We can't see you all the way until you bend down. Then it's nice because it's not just the child getting his 50%, and then the rest of 15% of what dad's primary insurance amount is. The widow can also get an amount equal to something like that. So it can up the household income trying to survive on the deceased spouse's PIA, which of course is probably going to be less than what the spouse was earning while he or she was supporting the rest of the family. But and for widow, child and care, you can't be earning over a certain amount yourself because you have to be largely caring for the child and not working full time out there making over a certain earnings limit. So then the question is, does any of those factors help at this stage? No. You can't get widow. You can get widow, children, and care. I think that you don't even have to be disabled for that, CG. So that should be, if your children are small, younger, not 16 or over, I think is the age. Yeah, that one's like, you don't have to really prove anything except that you were married generally. And the kids are, you're going to file for the kids' benefit, right? And then your own. So that's something you definitely want to hop on. And I apologize if for your loss, by the way. When you turn 50, your SSD, if you win it in your own name, you could switch to that disabled widow's benefit because you've already proven that you were disabled within it's got to be within 7 years of the passing of the spouse. You could, if that amount is bigger, then you could switch to that instead of taking on your own record that you originally have to do now because you're not 50. So those things, it's another avenue of eligibility, and it might be more because it's on his work record and not yours. Yeah. And she goes on to say also no past relevant work since under SGA, the last job. Okay. That the SGA is relevant for whether you're disabled. That amount might not be the same. I'd have to look it up as the earnings limit if you were to take as a widow. That dependency amount. Like if you're earning more than that, you're not considered a dependent. They have kind of a black and white rule. But yeah, don't forget the widow, child and care. Still prove your child and care. Jen Me says, hi Stephanie, happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday to you too, Jen. Question already. With a remand case that is going back to a different ALJ than the first hearing, thank goodness, right? Do I have to reestablish any of the things I already won in the first? Well, I don't know what you mean by what you already won. Yeah, you usually have to redo everything. I mean, they have all the old evidence if it's a remand, so all that medical evidence is still there, and you're going to want to put the updates in, and anything that was missing from back then. I'm not sure what you have to reestablish. I mean, if you're going to be testifying as to, usually it's largely about your functioning and your symptoms and everything. And what? Yeah. I don't know. So assume the hearing is, always assume it's going to be full-blown hearing, and he's not going to say, well, we don't need it, because he might not need anything about your work history, because that's probably maybe evident from the file, which is supposed to be. There shouldn't have to be a lot of chat about what you did at work. That work history report should be stellar and drafted accurately, and to the extent that what you actually did at work really is reflected in there, not glossed over for, you know, trying to be glamorous in the work history report. I would assume you're hearing, just assume you've been through more than one hearing, expect the same. Jen says, in the sequential evaluation process, like ALJ1 said, I can't do past work, can only do low stress and require breaks. So that decision you're saying said that you can't do past work, so you passed it for. Now, I think when you go back, the new ALJ gets to have a total revamp. Does that mean he might want to, like, look what my buddy said, my colleague, I don't really want to, I don't know. But legally, he's not bound to. It's completely a new. I think you said the required breaks is every 2 hours, so that's just like a normal break that everybody requires. I think that's the. Am I remembering that right, Jen? If you said she requires breaks every 30 minutes, now we're talking excessive breaks. Is this pretty set for ALJ2 and just changing the things the federal judge says to? Yeah, I'm not really sure your question, except for what I've said before. It's a whole new hearing, and he doesn't have to find what his prior colleague found. You're gonna have new evidence. Maybe the new evidence shows that you can do past work. You know what I mean? Like it's a whole new thing. Old Grizz says, hello from Montana. First live stream I've been able to be here for. Thanks for all you do, Stephanie. Oh, you're welcome, and I'm so glad you're here. The boss says, hello, I have a TBI, only 41. Yeah. Oh, precious 41. Moved to PA from New York. Got a line of duty pension from a law enforcement job. I got a TBI, neurological death, blind in one eye, and 6 herniated discs, all therapies. All therapies dropped me. Speech, PT, they all said not getting better, etc. Okay, that's not a drop. That's like saying, you know, if you have a report that says this is permanent, and you said speech, so I don't know, does that mean you can't talk? You know, it's very difficult. Obviously, that might help cut out all the talking jobs, and you'll be at the ones that you don't. Hi. What are you trying to do? That was weird. I'm kind of offended. And a pain doc who sees my attorney. I got a neurologist who specializes in brain injuries, and a pain doc who sees me, my attorneys. They got too much clients. Yeah, volume driven. Now I'm in the recon stage. Okay. Well, they won't get paid unless they win for you. But I know it kind of stinks if they do volume factory type of intake, because then you get the sense that they're going on percentages. As long as we win 60%, we're gonna have our 3-car garages. But then what about your 40% of your clients who didn't win? There is an animal out there, not saying yours is, but that is definitely a something we have to deal with out there. I don't like it, but I bet one person. Okay. I mean, you got a lot of stuff. I'm not sure what the question is. Just keep plugging forward. Look at your DLI too. Make sure that you're not going to run out. Make sure you can keep it. There's got to be something you could do to keep your credits coming in, to keep you insured in case this takes years, so you can reapply again. So know your DLI and know how to keep it forward moving. Because under 50, as you know, that if they can plug you at at a sit-down job that's unskilled and you don't have to do any talking, or at least not a lot of talking, because I'm assuming you can do some talking, since you haven't said you can't. Information clerk at a welcome center. You can sit, you can stand, however you please. When someone comes in, and if they ask you where the bathroom is, 2 doors down on the left, ma'am. And that's the job. That's, you know, you gotta think about those jobs, because that's an example of, you know, illustrative of what we have to carve out. So the boss says, continuing on, oops, sorry, I'm trying to click it. I asked, what should I do? He said, just do what you're doing, which is nothing. Well, you're going to visits. The biggest thing everybody can do when they're a claimant is treat. I'm going to have to redo that video that I did like 5 years ago. Treat. Big and small impairments. Go for all the little things. Don't just go on the big ones that the neurologist sees you for every 9 months. Go for that arthritis in your fingers, or, you know, now maybe you have more musculoskeletal problems because you've been walking a little limpy because of the TBI, and now you have a really bad back. I mean, you already have herniated disc, you said. Go for all those things. Go for if the shoulder things, knee things, ankle things. You have to prove you cannot do a sedentary job. So you got to prove all the jobs are off limits. It's not that easy, obviously, because you don't have the 50-year-old, even the 50 to 54, which is the weakest of the grids, but you don't even have that, where even if you could do sedentary work, you could sit at a desk just fine. You could still win, because if you meet the other grid rules that apply to that situation. So they have it slightly easier. And that's why I'd like to see you find a way to keep your DLI forward moving. Whether it's, I don't know, what skill you might have that you could do and earn less than $1,000 a month, you know, something part-time, gigger work included, house sitting, if you can, like, you know, get in. I don't know if there's any entities, or, you know, I know they have more robust things, like people can sign up to be a companion aid, you know, checking in on or sitting with little old people. So sometimes you gotta get creative. You gotta make that money and pay the taxes on enough to get you the 4 credits. Don't write it all off if it's gigger work, self-employed. And by the way, gigger work, self-employed is everything. If you do any job that does not provide you with a W-2, either you just collect cash from your customers, or you work for, you do work for a bigger company, like, let's say you're an Uber driver, which I don't think you're going to be doing with the TBI, but you will get a 1099 from them, I think. But in any event, even if you didn't, let's say it was just like they send you money, they don't give you 1099. That's the money that you have to report for your taxes, and that's the money you want to pay the taxes on, and not write it all off with business expenses just because you can, so that you can make sure you paid on the full amount. It's under $9,000 what you have to do a year, for the whole year. If you gross and don't write off his expenses, $9,000, actually slightly less, but we're going to be conservative here to keep you safe. You'll have 4 credits. I'm going off on a tangent, guys, but when I see a young person like the boss, who could have a long-term battle on his hands, you do not want to see your TBI expire, or you can't file for SSD again and take another bite of the apple. You know? Diana. Hi, Michelle. Did I say your name before, Michelle? I hope so. And of course, Beth. Yeah. Oh, Beth is saying, we were finally thawed out at 3 inches of ice and 5 inches of snow. We had, like, I want to say it was like almost 2 feet of snow, and it is still out there. Today seems to be the first day that I'm seeing some drip. But it could be worse, because a week plus ago, we were looking at possibly that nor'easter that was coming up, that we might get another 2 feet of snow. And that would have been crazy because they weren't doing the best, quickest job shoveling out. My kid made a lot of money that shoveling from the neighbors. And if you have that snow on top and they haven't really done a good clear, now you're really screwed. And then again, if it melts a little bit, like today, now things are going to start getting harder. In fact, when we're done, I think I have to go outside and get rid of some out of the walkway to make it wider for my propane guy. And maybe throw on some more salt. Oh, Grizz says it's 55 degrees in Montana. Nice. That's not bad. Montana, I thought that would have been really cold. Is it normally really cold? Rolando says it's windy in Cali. Okay. California. Rat's Nest. Oh, okay, old Grizz. I know who you are. Old Grizz. Okay. Good morning. Boy, do I have a disaster on my hands. Oh, Valerie, no. Well, I guess we're going to hear about it, right? I hope. Christina's in the house. Hello from California. Hello, Christina. Hope everyone is doing well. You too, my lady. Christina says something very important. Please share the live stream with friends and family. Yes. And I've been told to say, please like, please share, and please subscribe. Rat's Nest says 2 weeks in a row trying to be committed. Oh, it's 2 weeks in a row. My days go so fast. I'm like, did I see you last week or was that 3 weeks ago? Because life is like at train speed for me. It just is. Oh, the boss. Hey, speaking of which, I thank you for that. I'm working on something that will hopefully open up the door to more 1%er, 5%ers, the weird kind of cases. There's a variety of ways. Like, you know how I say we have 3 categories, and we have one for 1% of it. And there's a cap on every category, and a total cap, max beyond which we won't take more cases. There's always something rolling out though, so it's good. But there's a whole new thing. It would be like hopefully an affordable but low cost service. It wouldn't be for clients because they get it anyway. They get this part. I'm still thinking it through. I don't know if it'll work, but with some new workflows we're doing, I'm thinking it might be possible. And that income, if it works, would be going towards this mission too. So we'll see. I probably won't know for 6 months. I was almost like, today I was thinking about it. I'm like, oh man, I got to talk. I'm like, just shut your mouth and just try to work it out, see how it goes. It's nothing earth shattering, but it's just a service that, consultations are kind of pricey. This could be a little bit, it's not a consultation, but it is in a way, but it's only for a specific narrow thing. So it's not what we normally do for people that aren't clients. And I'm thinking, God, that could be something that people could use. We'll see. Patriot has a hearing tomorrow. Any last help would be welcome. Thanks for all you do. You might have heard me say this before, so this is just like a general thing. I would review your function report and work history report, but let's talk about the function report and see how did you describe your functioning, your limitations? Did you leave anything out that you might want to say, Judge, I forgot about this on my function report, but this happens to me. Or if something's gotten worse, I would want to bring that up affirmatively. If something got better, I'd probably shut up about it unless he asked you directly, and then you have no choice. Review that, because those are some of the things that somebody will probably be asking you about, like a judge, or if he leaves it up to your attorney rep, then your attorney rep would be asking it. Yeah, I would look at that. And then with regard to work history, look at your work history report. I don't know if you've looked at any of our work history videos, but if you have, you kind of know maybe if you did your work history report for them. Oh, I should have told them about this on my work history report. This is a part of my job. It just wasn't the part that describes my title, which was very prestigious. And yes, I still had to go get the cases of water for the stockroom for all my underlings or my, and that was this case. The water could be, I think, like 30 pounds or something. I usually just do the research. 16 ounces, 16.9 or 16.7 times, whatever it is for the bottles. times 24. There are things you could say, like, yeah, well, because I ran that office, I had to provide this, and this. Or, yeah, we set up for events, training events every week, and I was hauling out tables, and they didn't provide me with a janitor to do that or a custodian, and I was setting up chairs, and tables could weigh X amount. And now you have weekly, or, basically part of your job was carrying X amount of weight. Those little things can make a big difference. And, if you didn't do it right on your work history report, I would actually kind of proactively bring it up to the judge, because otherwise they're going to rely on that work history report and say, Judge, I just wanted to, and the judge may ignore you, but I'm just saying, you got it on the record. When I did my work history report, I didn't realize that all the little things I had to do pretty regularly at my job were something to mention versus the smarter stuff I did on my job, like all that report stuff I had to do. But my job, I had to do, when I did those events, those training events, I actually had to set up for them, Judge. I'm the one that pulled out the tables, put the binders together, carried the boxes of the binders down. I don't know. There's a million and one jobs, so I'm just giving an example. But sometimes we didn't put those things down. And what job could have been a light job at the very least, or a medium job, at least part of the time, was described purely as sedentary, which, of course, as you know, that can screw over a 50-year-old, and certainly someone under 50. So, just something to think about. And just be ready to answer his questions if he asks. If you have a lawyer, he's probably going to do a little trial prep with you and just kind of go over what you can expect at the hearing. I do have some videos on that, so it might even be a series of them. I'm not sure. If you look under ALJ hearing playlist, it gives you different things. Some of it's ad hoc, like, oh, this happened at this hearing. This, pay attention to this or whatever. CG, okay, that you're in step 3, right, CG? No consultative exam yet, okay. 39, Rennie. I got approved. Yay! I was wondering how I go about getting all my back pay at one time so I can catch my house payment up. Well, are you SSD or SSI? 39. If you're SSD, they're going to send it to you at once. If you're SSI and SSD, they're going to send it to you all at once. When he says all at once, guys, I'm assuming he means I don't want it broken up into thirds. That applies to SSI, and particularly SSI when you're only getting SSI, because they're protecting you from having too much money that you'd have to like poop away to be spent down so you can get your next month's SSI check. So the back benefits. So they do give you some time, but they also spread that part out. And if they do, and you need your SSI, let's say you have rent that hasn't been paid, and now all you have is SSI because you didn't have a suitable work history, which that makes you wonder how you bought a house, and paid the mortgage before. But nonetheless, they can, if you said, let's say you're borrowing the mortgage from your brother, and you owe him 30 grand, and you're going to get 30 grand from SSI and back benefits because your case took a long time. You can say, I need the 30 grand in total now. I have this debt. Show it to them to say, I have this debt. I don't even know if you have to show it to them. You might just, it might be something that they're off the hook of having to stagger it for you once you say it. I'm not sure where their standard is with that, but then you can get the full amount and you can pay that debt. That's what I would do if I was SSI. If it's SSD, you're going to get it all at once anyway. And they'll even be willing to give you the SSI without staggering it, because you're going to not be able to get future SSI that you have to worry about the monies, because your SSD is going to kick that SSI out the door if it's more than SSI. I'm so glad you won, Rennie. That's awesome. Dimple says, finally moved to step 2. I believe that means they have my additional paperwork that was sent in. I'm going to check as soon as we're done here. Simple. I've gotten nothing in the mail, but step 2, remember, the first one is she working SGA now? No. Step 2 is, oh my God, I'm having a brain fart. Does she have severe medically determinable impairments? That should be it. at the DDS, I think. So I'll check. If I can see your case in there, that means they've done everything wonderfully. Yeah. They processed your application and they got me on board. So that's good. Rat's Nest. PCP filled out MSS. So he's saying the primary care provider filled out the medical source statement. That's what I call it too. Medical source statement. Basically, it's your doctor's opinion letter, guys, if you're getting one. For physical and mental, but specialists won't. Yeah, they don't have to. It's a free country. Will that hurt me in ALJ hearing coming up in March? Well, first of all, I don't even know if your PCP one will help you or hurt you, because sometimes they do more harm than good, because the PCP doesn't realize when he says he's moderately limited, that means not disabled in a lot of cases. So can't speak for the one that you had the PCP fill out. It is more typical, Rat's Nest, to not have MSSs, because most doctors, therapists, everyone, they just will not do it for you. They're just stingy with their knowledge. They're just not, I'm sorry, they're just not that compassionate. You're a good paycheck, but that's all you want. And I'm saying that generally, but you know what? It's something that I think is really problematic, because these are the doctors that are treating you for what they know about you. And now they're saying, we're not going to tell you what we know about you. It makes me think you don't really know about me. How can you be treating me? And it's because they didn't put good records, good articulation in their medical records, the ones that they are in a skeletal are supposed to keep on you, is why the SSA didn't find what you say they should have found, how severe it was. So to me, that's the doctor's incompetence in recording your problems. And I know I'm making enemies saying that. That won't be the first time. It's a problem. It's a problem. It hurts disabled people every day. Hundreds and thousands and millions of them every day, because of the medical profession not being more diligent about it. So if the channel gets shut down because I said that, just know I love you guys. All right. Augustine Machine. Woo! Can you briefly explain the MIE, MIP, and MIND classifications? MIE, medical improvement expected. That's when you're going to have the shortest diary. So all these ones, right? You have been found disabled. MIE would be if it's expected. So then it could be, I haven't looked at the ranges. I don't think it's really probably varied much, but that's usually the shorter. I've seen them have 18 months. I've seen them have 1 year. I've seen them have 2 or 3 years. And that's what you can expect with an MIE. And like I said, some MIE diary dates are going to be shorter than the 3 years, because if a person has been really screwed up, let's say I had a person like this, it was an under 50 person, this is a few years ago, and she had really bad neck problem. She'd had the surgery, she still was in a brace, and it was months later, now she's going to have to go for another surgery. And I think I had asked the judge, should we wait to have the hearing until after the second surgery, see how it goes? And he said no. So we went to, and she was in her late 40s at the time. We went to the hearing. She's still, and her neck is, it's really worrisome. We went to the hearing and went through everything in the normal course. She was awarded. She'd had surgery number 1, but had to go for surgery number 2 because things were not resolved, but hadn't gone to surgery number 2. And he gave a diary date. I want to say it was 1.5 years away. And I'm curious, I wonder if he made the diary date right after her 50th birthday, so she'd have an easier win, because she would have changed ages too. So now it's not that she has to prove she can't do sedentary all work, which is what we prevailed on. We did prove that. But at 50, when she might improve slightly with her neck, because now the next surgery is going to be 1 year out or more, she at least now, even if she could do sedentary, she could still prevail, assuming she has no transferable skills, can't do the prior job, etc. So, sometimes they get, when they really want to give a person a solid win, they might do that. Instead of saying, let's say 1 year, Normally it would give a year and a half, and a year and a half falls when they are 49 and a half or 49, say. And they're like, oh no, this person's gonna, and they might, I'm just like speculating on what I think sometimes they do, which I think is really kind. They'll be like, let's make that CDR 2 years. So she's 50. So they have to prove, so anyway, I know a lot of people think all the ALJs are really bad and everything. It's just not true. It's just not true. I mean, I know some of them make really bad mistakes. Believe you me, I know that. And I won't say all of them are nice people, but by and large, they're just normal human beings like the rest of us, and they're trying to do their job. And their job is not to say yes to everybody. It's to really nitpick and get into it and figure out. Oh, sorry, I didn't finish, Augustine. MIE, yeah, medical improvement expected. MIP, I think that's medical improvement possible. So maybe that's the 3 to 5. And then mine is the one that I mean, it's good for your case. It's not so good for you. Medical improvement not expected. So, it's not expected. So they think you're going to be stuck the way you are, and maybe getting worse. It is a relief though. You got 5 to 7 years, and oftentimes it's closer to 7. So you don't have to worry about it so much. Not that you should be worrying. Nobody should be worrying about their CDR, the way I look at it. But yeah, there's that. Arizona Gallagher. Hi there. Hi. Does SSA destroy medical records? If so, why would they ever do that? And after how long? Now that we're digital, I'd like to think not. I don't know the answer. I mean, they weren't really, I felt like they weren't supposed to do it back when we were all paper. And believe me, I'm an old dog. So when I started, we were all paper. It was a nightmare. I used to get them to send me it was crazy. When I needed a copy of the file to start representing somebody who had a case, they would literally send me the whole accordion file. I mean, what would you do if I lost it? I don't know. It's good. Other times I would just go to my local office and they would give me a copier and I would just copy the whole thing. I mean, it was very, very manual like that. That's when I was very new in the practice. I remember once going to East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania field office. I'd make an appointment and I would bring my own reams of paper. So I wasn't mooching off of them, even though technically they would have to. I would bring my own to make the copy, so I wasn't taking from the taxpayers or whatever. And I remember once having my daughter, who was a baby, she's 19 now, in a carrier, checking her with me to the field office to make copies of this case. Because if I had a California case, they would mail the whole thing to the SSA, but a few times things were just sent to me, which was crazy. And I'm trying to think, it was probably a copy they sent to me, so I didn't have to send it back. But that's how old school and no technology. And then within a few years, 5 or so, things started really taking off, thank goodness. At that time, it was CDs. They never worked. I'd say 80% of the time the CD didn't work. And you're like, all right, can you get me another one? And it takes them 6 months to get to it. So it was a nightmare. So this whole online stuff, I know it's scary. I know everyone gets worried about hacking and things like that. And that's rightful. But boy, I can't even tell you how much different it is. It's just so different and so much better. So going back to it, Arizona, as I digress, I don't think they're supposed to ever get rid of them. The paper files are supposed to be scanned in to become electronic files. And the reason why I don't think they're supposed to get rid of them is because what if, it's going to sound weird, it's so remote. Allegation of fraud, the doctor from 30 years ago, the person got SSD. Turns out he was in a big fraud ring and with a bunch of claimants and SSD lawyers. Oh, Drew, does that sound like Eric Hunt? I don't know, something like that. But, and now they have to go back and look and see, was this person fraudulently given SSD benefits? How are they going to prove that if they didn't keep the records that they had? How are they going to prove it against the person? So if they didn't keep them, I think they have to leave the person intact. They could give them a CDR, perhaps. But I'd like to think they can only give them, well, I think they can probably just decide a CDR because they have evidence of fraud of one of their doctors. And that's all it takes. One person crumbles. One person gets caught. The whole basket comes down. So I don't think they're supposed to get rid of them. I know they would lose them back when they were paper, but I don't know how that's even possible with them being digital. I would like to think there's many backups. The whole system is really secure, so we'll see. Your doctor's offices, on the other hand, are not held to that similar idea. And I know different states say 7 years, 7 years. That's back when it was paper too. And because accumulating and keeping 7 years with the client's files is a nightmare. I had to do it. And then when scanners came about, I want to say back in 2011 or something, I decided to go digital, like electronic, scan everything and everything I got, which is what I still do. And I had lots of paper files. I ended up hiring a veteran company that comes with this big, huge truck. It cost me a chunk of change, but it was for a necessary reason, and I like to support my veterans. They came literally, I could look right up there, up at the tail, at the top of the driveway, and I take that back. They were up there, then they pulled down closer because I had all the totes. I pulled them out back because I had them stored and locked up in the basement. And I'd bring out the totes and they would feed them. It's like a big shredding truck. They'd feed a whole tote in and it would get shredded right in front of you. It's pretty cool. But the medical offices, when they say they get rid of them after 7 years, that's offensive to me because everything's digital now and they know it. If you were, 15 years ago, you were their customer and you haven't been there in 50 years, that's a different story. But I would like to think they would keep everything later, if for no other reason, to defend themselves if you sue them for malpractice. And let's say you get to toll the statute of limitations. Back in my PI days. DDS called, this is CG. DDS called, verify work hours and fax same day, current medical records, then got letter, how we determine disability. And you were denied, right? Oh, no. Sorry. Positive sign. You were not denied. Who was saying they were denied? Oh, you're on step 3, right? See, I'm mixing everybody up. Okay, verify the work hours. You got it till the same day. They have your current medical records. I don't know what we got letter, how we determine disability. I mean, usually that's the letter that they do when they first get your case. So, but the mail is so slow. They might call you and 3, 4, 5 days later you get the mail. Sorry, that was too long. Was I too long or were you too long, the boss? I came here to get info on helping my dad. This is Aurelius. I came here to get information on helping my dad get approved, and what do I find? I find myself not able to focus. Can you guys get a less... You're funny. Yes, you're very funny. You're being very funny. Why don't you have your dad fill out a eval and we can take a look at it if you want to have a professional handler. Just an idea. Let's see where he's at. Rolando says, I was MIP, medical improvement possible, but now I've been, again, I think that's what it means. I haven't looked at that one in a long time, but now I've been diagnosed with heart failure, defibrillator, 3 stents, 20% ejection fraction. You might need a listing. I think it's 20%. And on 8 different expensive meds. Will I move up to mine? No, because they're not going to know about that stuff until you have a CDR. Approved for DDD, degenerative disc disease, I think you mean, and had surgery. They probably had evidence of your cardio problems, right? You didn't exclude them from your case. You listed your cardiologist, right? When you filed in one under DDD. I mean, that's what you think you went under. How do you really know, Rolando? Yeah. they're not going. They don't follow your medical. You have privacy after you win, until they ask for something to do a follow up, and then you give permission for them to get the stuff, or else that would be very risky not to. So if you get the CDR, you keep track of all your medical that you've been treating with, so you can tell it to them, so they know, what you've been doing, and of course, keep it all kind of current. Stay reasonably current with your treatment, your follow up. The boss is, yeah, they're factory attorneys. I can't even get your post up here. It's not coming up. Ah, what the heck? Come on, YouTube. Oh, there we go. Factory attorney. Yeah, that's what we always refer to them as. I won't name names. If you think about it, it's like a numbers game. If you can win 50% of your cases at an average of, let's say you have 1,000 cases and you can win 50%, that would be one of those, that wouldn't even be a big company, but it could be factory if they don't have enough staff to carry that. You win 500 of them at 5,000 each. How much is that, guys? Is that 2.5 million? I don't know. Or something like that. They can well support themselves on only winning 50%. So just the optic is that they don't feel as much pressure to win more of their cases. So they might, and if they want to take on more, they might do less per. Like some don't do the function report with you. They don't do the work history report. They don't help you draft that up and get that in. Yeah, sometimes it's a numbers game. They just need to know how much they need to pay all their people and walk home with a 3-car garage. And it's just the way it is. It's kind of like using standard law firm mentality in this kind of practice. And I think it's weird. I don't think it fits. I think it's inappropriate. I think it's unethical. But who am I to say? To each his own, right? But, so it's just interesting. Christina says, please press the like button. Yes, please do. We have some trolls that I think they think they're getting paid to click dislike. They don't really care, but it's funny. I know that YouTube knows about it with everybody, so they don't even show it anymore. They're like, yeah, no, we're not going to let that. They know who's doing it. It's funny. The boss says, thank you, love. I appreciate you. I get more info from me than my own attorney. Well, that's because he's not on here. If he was on here, he's saying the similar stuff, except about the factory stuff. Sorry about that. Okay, Heather Ash is in the house. What's up with repeatedly being asked if you've been seen in the ER for pain? Should it only be answered yes or no, or should I explain the obvious reasons why? I don't know what the obvious reasons why. Is it the obvious reason? Oh, she said it here. Let me go on, Heather, to your next one. 1, headaches and migraines are not life-threatening. 2, there's nothing they can do other than numb me for a short period of time. Sometimes that relief is what people are looking for because they're going to go crazy because the pain is so bad. But solve nothing and send me back home just for it to return. Yeah, the reason, was it your attorney asking, Heather? It's a pain. How many times have you gone to the ER for the pain? Or is it somebody else? I'm just curious who's asking it. I do have people who go to ER for migraines, particularly some of the really bad migraines that you may not have. I don't know. Cause vomiting for days. They're dehydrated and they need IV hydration. And sometimes pain can be so bad you're screaming out of your mind, and someone takes you to the ER so you can get numbed out, so you can get some sort of relief. I mean, I don't have any of these kind of long-term problems, right? But I always think back to a year and a half ago, so September of 24. when in the middle of my workday, my stomach's starting to get hurting, and I'm like, oh shoot, what did I eat? Blah blah blah. It was a different kind of hurt though. It was real achy. And then by nighttime, I don't know if you guys remember this. Some of you guys that have been around a long time, I was watching TV with my mom, who's 82, who was living with me for all those years, and she's since moved to my sister's a few months back. But I took myself to the ER in the middle of the night. My husband was in Harrisburg, far away. And because I'm like, oh my God, this is so bad. There's something wrong. I'm thinking appendicitis because I don't know the difference. Completely different, turns out. But I didn't know because I never have issues. I never did. And it turned out it was my gallbladder was screaming. And I had to have an emergency gallbladder removal. And I'll tell you, the pain was that bad. If the pain had been distracting from work, which it would be at the lower level, like I usually work into the evening, and I think the reason why I cut out when I did was because I was like, this is just like, I can't even focus, you know. I wasn't even doing phone calls with people because it was like horrible. So it was distracting from work. If it didn't get worse than that, I would never have gone to the ER, ever. I went because it was so bad. And I'm like, if I don't go now, what if I can't drive in the morning? No, I did. My daughter was driving at this point, a new driver. But it was that severe pain. And that when pain gets that bad, people go to the ER. So that's why. That doesn't mean you're not disabled if it doesn't rise to that level, you know. Or like you said, let's say it's a migraine that does put you in the bed. But you know, with that abortive thing, you're going to lose half a day or a day, and then you'll be fine. You know, that is a reason, because you do have remediation at home, and it doesn't negate the fact that you lost a day. And if you were to lose a day, more than one day like that a month, no employer is going to tolerate that, and you're not going to be able to work. So that can be, if proven, a disabling condition in and of itself. It's getting the proofs and really driving it home into the ALJ of the absenteeism, which is not something that they keep as a firm rule per se. I say that a lot, don't I? Per se. So don't feel like you're not disabled because you don't go to the ER. But it does reflect that it is not a 10 out of 10, potentially. Maybe it's a 9 out of 10, and you know when you take your abortive, it's going to drop down to an 8 within 2 hours. Let's say it's going to drop down to an 8, still stinks, but you're not like screaming crazy. If you go to the ER, you're going to sit in they triage you, and they're, you know how bad that is. You could be sitting in their chair for 3 hours or more until you start writhing on the floor. So it is kind of a, well, I'd rather suffer the 9 here than the 9 there, because I'm going to take my abortive. I'm going to lie in bed in a dark room. I can't even do that if I go sit in the waiting room at the ER. So there is reasons not to go. If it's something that you know you can abort at home, you just got to be patient and suffer through it and whatever. So I'm just trying to explain to you, there's so many different things. But the ER, and there can be a detraction for people. Some people go to the ER on the drop of a hat. And I think, Heather, you're not one of them. And those people don't look necessarily good for that either. Like if they, I'm just about to contradict myself. I was going to say, if they drive themselves to the ER, how bad can it be? But I drove myself to the ER. But it was only 5 miles down the road. And I literally, it was like I got out of bed at midnight because I said, if it's still here at midnight, I'm going. And I had waves of more intense pain. And so I literally was planning for, as I was driving, I'm like, all right, I got to clench, you know, like all that weird stuff you do, you know. But our hospital, thankfully, there's actually 2 that are pretty close. This one is even closer, and I don't have to go through the town limits and stuff like that. It's kind of through back roads. Every case is different, but one thing about migraines too, again, if you don't have that dehydration concern, if you're able to abort them, that's a valid reason to not go to the ER, but it doesn't mean that you're able to function during those times. So it's quantifying the amount of time in a month that you would be on your back in the dark room, because that's a non-work posture. versus the person who says, I have a migraine, and they're walking around their house and they're putting things away and they're saying, I got a migraine. And that's not the kind of migraine that's going to get you dysfunctional and can't work during that migraine, because she's doing simple stuff around the house while she's complaining, whoever, about, I have a bad migraine. Really, what she probably has is a headache, or a headache level migraine, whatever you want to call it. Heather goes on to say, number 3, my specialists are at a hospital 2.5. Oh, I wouldn't be going to my specialist if in an emergency. That's not what emergencies are. You wouldn't be going to the hospital 2.5 hours away. You'd be going to the local ER one. And that would be for relief from something extremely severe, severe pain, intractable vomiting. Intractable migraines, which is the worst, I think, in many ways. If it includes vomiting, that itself can be like putting people into a very dangerous zone of dehydration. So there are reasons. Okay, just put them out there. All right, Anthony Rankins. I don't think we've met, Anthony. Nice to meet you. On SSDI for a year, got married and adopted a child. Oh, good for you. Can I get auxiliary benefits? I believe so. I do believe so. I think there has to be, that's something I want to look up. Only because it's awesome that you did that. I love it. I do believe so. And I know there's this point, like, God, there's some rule where, like, when a grandparent who's on retirement adopts maybe their grandchildren, I want to say there's like, did you do it the year before? Let me find out. I don't want to say for sure. I'd like to think the answer is definitely yes. I'd like to think at worst there's a waiting period. Hold me to that, Anthony. If you could, on any video on any day, just say, hey, I'm the one that asked you about, and just say what you said here. It'll remind me to squeeze that in somewhere and just get the details on it. Because that would be really important for you to know. And I would love to be able to get that information and make sure. I mean, obviously you can just also do it by just applying and seeing what happens. But it might be helpful to know what the parameters are beforehand, just so you go in there equipped. Yeah, just message me. Like, it's like a comment under any post. I'll see them all. It's got to be under like a video post. There is some other weird place you guys post sometimes. I'm like, I see them 3 months later. I'm like, what is that? How come I didn't see that? I still don't know where it is. Somehow I stumbled upon it. You're talking to me after all. I'm not the most techie person in the world. I'm techie in the ways that I'm techie, but not ways I'm not. Aurelia says, my dad's paralyzed from the neck down and has 2 major TBIs. The SSA sent him a letter saying he'd still be able to do the job of a social. All right, so someone didn't do their job. I hope that wasn't you, Aurelia. To get them the information they needed. They obviously didn't have the medical evidence, if that's so. If you want to, reach out to me. Just go to the website, which is joydisability.com. Look in your upper left. There is a free evaluation form. When you type, put in the basics, and then when you're typing anything out about his condition, or say, spoke to Stephanie at Livestream on February 4th. I'm Aurelius, and she said for me to email her, and you'd send it right to her, and I'll call you. If you're looking for representation, it depends what you want to do. If you're looking to continue self-representing him, it's not really self, it'd be you doing it. I assume you're his appointed representative, or maybe not. You need to get all those medical records yesterday. So it sounds like he was denied, and then you can do the job of a Social Security supervisor. Is that a joke, by the way? That's pretty funny. But for anybody else who's in this boat, if you have this bizarre, like the person's definitely had an accident, they're totally disabled, and an invalid, so to speak, it's because they didn't get the records. So you need to make sure they get the records. But I think Aurelius, now that I read the last part, they said he could be a Social Security. I think you're kidding with me, right? That's funny. The boss says, yeah, my partner got a broken ankle for the same line of duty injury and got approved. It amazes me. Age is huge. Yeah, because you're under, right? Age is huge. It's true. I mean, think about it. We get old age dementia when we're old, not when we're young. We're all heading there. Just kidding. But I've got dementia on the brain, not on my brain, but my year of learning that young people can get it too, and trying to get my old friend, almost like a former friend, but I don't really become a disloyal person, even though, we don't hang out like we used to. But yeah, got her safe and sound, but it is tragic. It is not. It's tear-worthy tragic. Okay, Carrie says, I feel like it's all I do is treat. I go for one, then you're probably doing a good job, Carrie. I go for one thing and they find something else. I got approved for vocational rehab. They're going to help me find a part-time job. Will that hurt? Who approved you? Who is that? You must have asked a vocational rehab place for help to get a part-time job. Part-time job, by the way, Carrie, is not a bad thing if you're under SGA. If the income and the hours keeps you well under that, I'm going to say 1,600, guys, even though it's gone over. But I don't really want anybody flirting with the number, because they invariably pop over it. You get a raise, you take an extra shift, someone asks them to stay a little late that day, boom, they just got an SGA month. I think trying to work part-time is awesome. And if you're under SGA and the job is under SGA and with accommodations, awesome, because it's showing that even they think you can only do part-time job, and you're under SGA, the other rule. So I think it can be really good, and it also shows that you're industrious and you want to work. So there's a lot of optics to that. Old Grizz says, let's see, great advice, treat all ailments. I just got MRI results from lesser ailment. It shows several torn tendons and cartilage, etc. Shows it has been several years damage. I was neglecting seeing doctor for this. You know, Grizzly. George Graham's in the house. He's one of our favorite people who comes here and shared when he prevailed and still comes back and visits. So that's awesome. Nice to see you, George. Jen Me says, oh, okay. Yeah, that's unfortunate, but also fine. It's a better hearing office than a. But it's not. It is good, Jen, if you think about it. They denied you. You don't really want what they said to be. The one that you said, I need breaks. She said you need normal breaks, if I recall. That's not helpful. You probably know that you need more than every 2 hours. So, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I know they can wipe the slate clean. I was just wondering, that usually happens. Yeah, it's pretty much a whole new hearing. Now it's different on a remand than if you had a supplemental hearing with the same judge. Those happen when the judge decides he's got to get some more stuff, and so or have a medical expert come in and testify, and so he's going to have a sup hearing, or he's going to get a medical expert do interrogatories, and then we say we don't like the results of the interrogatories. We say gotta have a sup hearing, judge, to keep the case alive, because if the judge got those bad medical expert records or results, the opinion of the medical expert, that's the way he's going to go. I mean, he asked for more evidence and he got it, and it tilted it backwards. So that's when we're like, we have no choice but to demand a supplemental hearing, and then we're going to cross-examine the doctor, so he has to come to the hearing, and we try to get additional, updated evidence to prove him wrong. Crazy. These cases can go on for years, guys, with dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of hours put in. All the things you don't really see from your side of it, because you don't live in the office or in the computer. Christina, you're such a trooper. Look at her. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. That's what they told me I should do. Be like, rah, rah. Not really my style. I was never a cheerleader. At least not in the official sense. I'm more like a personal cheerleader for certain people. The boss says he'd pay out of pocket. Okay, I forget what we were talking about. Carrie says, the vocational rehab place is the same building as the DDS. I think you mentioned it before. Should I contact my DDS worker and see if she needs anything more? Yeah, the wait is coming. Yes, if you are self-representing, Carrie, and you don't have a lawyer, you have to do what the lawyer would be doing. Everything the lawyer would be doing, you should be doing. How do you know if they have all your stuff? If they don't have all your stuff, guess whose fault it is? That'll be yours. I mean, sometimes you can't get it fast enough, and you just have to like do it on the next round. That's the way. That's just the practicalities of things. Sometimes they do a denial. We're waiting on something. They decided to deny before they got it. It happens all the time. And then we just appeal. That never happens before ALJ hearing. Things work differently. When you're waiting on evidence, you tell the judge, I'm waiting on this, judge, so please leave the hearing open for it to come in before you make a decision. That is standard operating procedure. Because all those updates, you can't really rely on them too. We don't have instant access to them. You have to wait for the person to send it to you. A lot of times they ignore it. Jen Me says, when a federal judge has basically already slapped the hands of ALJ1. Some ALJ1s, I will tell you, on remand, normally, remember, remand goes back to the first judge, usually. But you said yours isn't. But were you on a second remand? I forget. I don't think I've ever had a remanded case back to the same ALJ we denied second time around. I don't think. If it was long ago. I'm not sure. I don't think so, but it's in the realm of possibility that I might have forgotten one. But I've heard other people talk about the judge just stuck to his guns, because they can still deny you. It's not like forcing them to. The ALJ is not saying you're disabled. The appeals council is not saying you're disabled. The appeals council is saying the ALJ forgot to do step G before he made his decision, and he has to get through step G and give the outcome of it before he can go to HRJ denial. I just find that they do, in my experience anyway, tend to think about it the way we think about it more. But it might be the way we're presenting it. They're it's being reiterated, and things are added to it, and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. And sometimes the remand will produce a win, but with an amended onset date. So they kind of they'll win, yeah, but they're not going to give you the date that you asked for at the first hearing, and that you might still be asking for at the second hearing. Scott Venter. Received ADL report on recon. When are we going to speak, Scott? Received ADL report on recon and no CE. Received ADL. You mean a request for your function report? Is that what you're referring to when you say received? On recon and no CE. No content. Submitted a strong physician RFC. Okay, well that's good, assuming you know what a strong physician RFC is relative to your vocational profile. Let's just assume you do know it, and the judge's opinion coincides with what it takes for you to have a win if the SSA decides that they think he's credible. There's no CE, so I think it's, in a way, you've got the only CE opinion, right? You're a doctor. So hopefully he said the right thing. So that's the tricky part. Most people screw that part up. Valerie says, I'm sorry, I clicked off and I missed a whole lot. Oh, that's so funny because you did say something like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, yeah, tell us about it. And then you were gone. I had to help my mom with something. Help your mom, your sweet mom. PCWC says, I know someone who gets SSI and they got a functioning report. What is that? And does SSA send the report every year? So it sounds like they got a CDR PC. If they're on SSI for disability and they got a function report, the SSA is trying to follow up and see if they're improved. And if so, they might need a full-blown CDR, or that is maybe a full-blown CDR. No, it's not every year. It's whenever their diary is, basically. They definitely leave you alone in between. PC says, I forgot to say hello. Hello. No worries. I'm not picky. You're welcome, Rennie. Oh, SSI. So, Rennie, I think you were the one that was asking about how can I get all the money up front instead of having to the stagger, right, Rennie? Like you get 1/3 of it when you win of your SSI back benefits, another third 6 months later, and then the last third a year later. 6 months after that. So yeah, if you have bills to pay, absolutely, and stick to it. I mean, stick on them. Don't let them. Make sure they know how urgent it is. And I would I would call them and with Honey explain, and then I would follow up that phone call. They'd say yes, you could do that. Maybe they want a statement from you. I don't know. I would follow up the phone call and be like, this is, spoke to so and so today on the phone, and we discussed my need for my mortgage to have my SSI back pay immediately, and that I need for it not to be withheld for the 1/3 breakout or whatever you want to call it, and then I need it to pay to me all at once because I need to get my house out of a dangerous back mortgage or whatever. Temple says she's trying to be patient. Oh man, and sometimes Temple, these things it's like don't hold your breath, right? I learned how to completely have far more patience than my normal character would allow me over the course of the years. Hits for life. Woo! Just saw fourth ALJ. Wow. Vocational experts stated that there were jobs available, but after lawyers' questions, stated none. Applied in 2018, back surgery, and over 7,000 pages of medical evidence. 45 years old. Is it your fourth application hits, or have you been remanded on the same application from 2018? Like, did you go to appeals council and all that? And if you haven't worked since 18, you're no longer insured, right? So you're going for SSI, or you're still fighting a still open claim that covers a period of time still that you still had your insured status. You know what I'm talking about there with the date last insured, DLI. Oh, sorry. They keep on our toes. Hi, baby. I'm sorry. Do you want to say hi to everybody? Oh, she just took a poop. Oh my God. My goodness. She showed me, didn't she? Holy moly. And I don't have a tissue, so I was going to say, oh my God, that was too funny. You showed me. I basically scared the shit out of her when I bumped her. See, I deserve that. I did. I can't really argue. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. Some of you newbies don't know Tasha. Here she is. Right. That's Tasha. She's an Amazon parent. She's awesome. I got to adopt her a few months ago. Okay. Hits continues on. College degree. If it's old, I wouldn't worry about it. Chronic bilateral radiculopathy, L4, L5, proven by EKG. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Chronic migraines. Your age is what's holding you back, to be honest. So I'm worried about your DLI hits. You're only 45. If you haven't worked since 18, you're going to be you're going to be uninsured, and then you can't win SSD. What does your lawyer say about this? You have a lawyer, I think. If you haven't seen a lawyer, you need to speak to one. But in the meantime, think about how you can get back into a DLI. Your date less insured being in the future. You can regain insured status. It's going to take some work in an accommodated job you can do with a certain amount of part-time work each year to get you back in. If your DLI is expired or about to be, you're going to have to do something. It's tough when this happens to you that young. It's really tough. John is in the house. Hi, John. I recognize the face. Hi, Stephanie and Chat. Who's Chat? This one? That's Tasha. I did not name her. Hit says, was just diagnosed 2024 with fibromyalgia, severe sleep apnea, and mild cognitive impairment. CE, both physical and mental, stated unable to do sedentary work. Oh, that's awesome. Because you can't sit that long, right? I'm guessing is it? It wouldn't be the mental, because you could do unskilled, unless you have mental, unless there's the four, sorry guys, I'm just going to turn this down. The 4 categories of zones of mental tasks, and one of which is a substantial loss to you. That is one that all 4 of them are required for every single job out there, blah, blah. But I'm thinking it's due to, if they're talking about sedentary, they're usually talking about the physical, of course. So, wow. Interesting. CE said, that's really, the mental doesn't talk about sedentary, by the way. They only talk about the mental capacity. So you might be misreading there. So that's my only concern. But otherwise, it sounds good. And don't worry about the 32% approval. All you have to do is prove that you are not in the 32%. I mean, not in the 68%. Oh, wow. So you're on the same case going back to 2018 hits. So what went wrong on all those cases? What was lacking? What made the judge? God, these papers really driving me crazy. I really wish I had my roll of paper towel. Huh. Sometimes all those remands, there's the optics. And sometimes what we were talking about before, like I said, a lot of times judges are really good when they're remanded. Yours obviously were not. Maybe you didn't add to your case. I don't know what you were doing, but fourth is hopefully the charm. Valerie says, I was supposed to get my SSDI yesterday, but I was told, oh, yeah, okay. I was told I'd get a paper check and my direct deposit will take effect in March. Right, we talked about this, I think, the other week, right? So I currently don't have my Social Security. Okay, and when you were supposed to get, so you're waiting for your February check. When do you think you can normally get your February check? And it's going to be in the mail, so it's going to take a little longer. But, right, that's why the direct deposit is so much better. God, this is really bothering me. Sorry. Hey, baby. Yeah, what day are you expecting it? We're only in March 4th. So let me know what I'm missing here now. Oh, Mr. Pet Mom. Will the government shutdown affect SSDI payments? Well, the government shutdown is over, first of all. It's very quick, I believe. And no, it never does. And I put out a video yesterday before it got signed off on. As much as we can debate whether it should have been or not, and all the shenanigans Congress plays, clearly, on both sides of the aisle, SSDI payments are never affected, nor are SSI payments, and nor is most everything else. There's a little bit of a slowness at the in-person offices for things that are not critical, such as, I need my benefits letter, which is completely available to everybody online. So it's not a big deal for SS. It's not a big deal for most everybody. every government agency except a limited. I think it's like 10 or 15%, 12%. And that stinks for them, though, but they definitely have SS protected. It's mandatory. There's none of this silliness affects it. Carrie says, my doctor encouraged me to see a psychiatrist, but wouldn't fill out the form. Which form? Neither would my PT, but they sent records. Oh, those are two different things, right? Encourage you to see a psychiatrist. Great. I assume you did it. But your doctor would not fill out a RFC form. That's typical. That's normal. Most people don't win that way because most doctors won't. So yeah, that's all good. Gave me for records free on a disc. That is good. And if you have a disc reader, obviously you need a disc reader. So you're going to find someone who has one that you can use. And you're going to download those records. Now, did you talk to your DDS person? She might already have those records, so you might have wasted a lot of energy on that. And remember, you always need to get updates. As your case goes on, if it goes on in 6 months, you got to get those last 6 months, right? But I'm glad you feel lucky. So, fingers crossed. Valerie says the government shutdown is over, and the answer is no, never have before. Never have before what? Meaning, has SSD ever been affected? Are you answering her question? Yeah. It's all good. When you see all those videos that are trying to get your clickbait, trying to put fear into you, please know why. Don't let them do it to you. Valerie says, how long does it take for a paper check to pay live? Hey, they usually send them out timely. It's just that mail is so terrible. Oh, I know. You had to borrow a few bucks to get by until you get it. Hate that too. Hate that too. Art of practice. How would you go about arguing that balance issues contribute to being unable to even do sedentary work? Okay, we can get into this. Example, use of a prescribed cane, use of prescribed ortho shoes for balance and joint issues, standing limitations, etc. Okay. If you are still unstable with the cane, that's a big deal because sedentary work still requires being up on your feet up to 2 hours out of the 8-hour day, and in your chair 6 hours. So those other 2 hours, would be for they expect little things to likely be required, like, oh, you have to go to the supervisor's office, or you do have to go to the bathroom during the day. If you are a person who can't even do those short distances without risk, even with the cane and the ortho shoes for balance, then that could really say you can't be expected to even do those little things in the office. It's going to be a hard road. It's going to be hard to prove that. Hey, what? The sedentary, again, the standing is only 2 hours of the 8-hour day, but sometimes and it's not 2 hours all at once. It's not expected to be 2 hours all at once. It's like that intermittent stuff you have to do, during the day. If the balance is bad enough, that's what I would be pushing about, even those getting up. Like sometimes people get up and they're wobbly, You can also try to, depending on what reason you have the cane for. Do you have bad hips? Is it a hip thing? Is it a lower back thing where the pain is excruciating on sitting that that's gonna be harder to prove. But if there's a lot of rhetoric statements in your medical records where you've complained over the years or months or whatever it's been that sitting for more than 20 minutes starts to really hurt that lower back, or the hips start to hurt, then that can maybe show that you'd have to get up more often than, because that sitting would not allow, which is why at home you're normally in a recliner, not in a, oh my goodness. Do you want another cracker? These are those like flat pretzels. Look at their little hands. Little dinosaur hands. They're pretty good. It's fascinating to watch. If the sitting show, like, I don't know, if you're always arguing like, God, I can sit for like 20 minutes, doc, and then I have to get up and move, but I can't even move very fast with my cane. So I usually, instead of the pressure on my back from sitting upright, which is a work posture, recliner with the legs up is not a work posture. Maybe that would be useful, but it really depends what you said in the past to your doctors. People that are non-complainers and don't get really detailed, they have weaker cases later. I know we don't like to be the squeaky wheels and the complainers, guys, when we're so used to having worked and not complain and push through pain until we can't. And that's where it kind of bites us in the butt, because once we stop and we're saying all these things, there's no historical basis. So that even that 12-month duration can have problems. The 12-month we need to prove. Dean is in the house. Hi, Dean. I don't know that we've met. Look at your cute little face there. How long does a psychological disability diagnosis like schizophrenia take? You'd have to ask the medical profession that. Actually, I'm not. I'm just a lawyer. I don't know. No idea. I just know that we can't do anything about schizophrenia until we have a diagnosis. I would like to think that it wouldn't take that long. But I think it depends on, well, are you pushing for a diagnosis? Going to someone who can diagnose it, which would probably be an MD, psychiatrist, MD. Sometimes you just got to push and be a squeaky wheel on that. This is a separate diagnosis, but a few years ago, not that long ago, had a person who was under 50, had all sorts of problems, stopped being able to work. Later on, not when she stopped working, but later on, after 3 years of complaints of all this pain and issues, diagnosed with, I think it was Sjogren's, if I recall. And this was one of those remands, by the way, that we won, but we won an amended onset date. And the amended onset date was the day of that they finally said, instead of suspected Sjogren's, suspected. She'd been treated for the Sjogren's with the medications and everything for like 2 years, but they never diagnosed it. It was really frustrating. And finally, they just did. One doctor finally was like, yeah, this is definitely Sjogren's. I don't know why we're not saying it. And like, he almost said that in the medical record. And the judge that gave the remanded judge a kind of like a ability to win it without showing, what do you call it? Without feeling like she did wrong. Well, now we have the Sjogren's diagnosis, even though she was treated for Sjogren's during her first hearing and all that. And so, but yeah, that took, I think it was a 3-year diagnosis, and it was because they were lazy as get out. So I think you need to push. If they've been suspecting it for long enough and there's nothing to rule it out, and did they do all the things that would rule it out, then bang, I would be pushy on it with honey, not vinegar, of course. Squeaky wheel. I'm telling you, squeaky wheel. Most of us are so not used to that. We're so used to shutting up, doing our work, pushing forward, keeping the peace. And what has it gotten us? What has it gotten you? I mean, it did great while everything was fine, but now it's time to, you have to put it out there. And I think if you have a diagnosis that is not forthcoming, are they stupid? Are they not testing you? What are they doing that's incompetent, but they don't have a diagnosis? It's not like that hard to diagnose, I don't think. They just have to go through the steps. You're welcome, Arizona. Aurelia says, serious question here. Not the Social Security supervisor. Does TDIU and P&T rating from the VA matter at all to the SSA? Yes. My dad's both, and they denied him first try. We're working on reconsideration now. I don't know what you did I feel like you did something that you failed to do something you had to do. I don't know your case, so I can't say what that is. But yeah, TDIU, PMT, they are not conclusive, but they are helpful. It means there's evidence of problems, because you can get those while still being able to, not the TDIU, but the other one, they affect different things and have different standards and different vocational meanings, is why one is not bound by the other. Not to mention, yeah, they just handle things differently. So I think they're both helpful though, or can be. So I don't know what really is. I'm not trying to blame you or anything, but there's something you didn't do, and maybe don't. So I say I don't know why you're not just using a professional, and I know that's easy for me to say because I'm very biased, obviously, but you got denied an initial with a case that seems like it should have been a listing. So I mean, hopefully in the end it's going to work out just fine and it'll go all the way back and all that, but you need to get those medical records in. Obviously the SSA, if you listed them all in the application, all those providers, then the SSA is supposed to order them. And if they do, and the person doesn't send them, there's only so much that they're going to nag them for that. I think one time extra. And then anything that came after your application, after they did the ordering, hey, let's say they did get the records, all the other stuff after that, you have to tell them. You have to, she pooped again. You have to tell them so that they know to reorder the updates or give them the updates. But you need to know which ones they already had. You need to make it clear these are just from this date and this date. He's got more coming up, or he had more before, so they don't think that's the whole kit and caboodle and they sit on their hands. So you got to keep in touch with your adjudicator and communicate with them and ask them what's missing here, like, But I wish you the best of luck, and I'm sorry about what's happened to your dad. It's got to be hard on you too. Michael Dean. I applied on June 30th and got a call from my examiner to schedule a consultative exam. He said he only pulled 6 months of medical records, so there is only one record he has, LOL. Did you ask him which one? Did he mean 6 months from all? Did you tell him more than one medical provider? Maybe you ordered 6 months from all of them. It doesn't really sound clear. And I don't know what you told them. What did you put in your application? And did you give them updated information when you went to the doctor after that time? All things you got to do, okay? No MRI, no CAT scan, no pain management records. Did you tell them about all these offices? That's really important. He pretty much has a record where I went in for my yearly physical and lab work. Okay. So did you only tell him about your PCP and not tell him about the specialist? Or did he say, I ordered them, but they haven't come in yet? You have to ask specific questions, maybe, if you want specific answers. Give that a shot. Okay? But in the end, it's your responsibility to get him in. He's just there to be helpful. Seriously. Sherry's in the house. What does MIP mean? God, everybody's asking about that. I'm just going to double check because I'm like, medical improvement possible. I'm going to double check. Since we're not really usually involved in that. Give me a second. Because now I'm like, it seemed like that's what I would do. Oh, yeah, I'm right. It's like, when you start telling me, like, everyone's asking that. Like, am I wrong? Too funny. Okay. Medical improvement possible. Yeah, so that means that once you've already won, it only matters once you've won and prevailed and you're collecting benefits, Sherry. Medical improvement possible. That means that they believe it's not medical improvement expected, which is going to give you a shorter CDR. We talked about this earlier today, by the way. You might not have been here. A shorter diary date for your CDR. Medical improvement expected would be a medical improvement possible. Is usually pushed out a little bit more after that, and then the most long-term diary would be medical improvement not expected. Mind. So it's all about CDRs. Tony Mimi says, sorry, I'm late to your live stream. No problem, Tony. But I just wanted to say thank you. Oh, you're welcome. I appreciate you being here. Hey, it's better to show up late than not at all, right? Michael Dean says, my portal says the average time, ignore that, for a full decision takes 160 days in my state. Today is day, like I said, ignore that, people. Do you know what an average is? Not, every single case is not the average except possibly one. You know what I mean? Like, it's the average. It's the average. That means that half or below, half or not even, it doesn't even necessarily mean that. It's not reflective of, I mean, when you look at all the different offices and what their averages are, yes, you'd like to be, yours might be faster generally than a case that has an area that has a 200 average. But you still don't know if you're going to be 163 or 400 because it's an average. Some cases are way more, some cases are way shorter, right? So I would just not even look at that stuff, guys. Just keep plugging along robustly and proactively the whole time. With regard to following up on all your big and small impairments and diagnostics and everything that should be reasonably prudent to do, and reporting them to your adjudicator if you don't have a lawyer. If you have a lawyer or a non-attorney rep, you send it to them. Hey, nobody can see your face. Can you bend down when you do that? Okay. Okay, and you just got called to schedule a consultative exam for mental. CEM, is that what you mean by the M? My examiner sounds like he's about 25 years old. That could be. I'm almost 100% sure I'll get a denial because of an incompetent examiner. Now, that's not fair. Young people can be very competent. Most of it's going to depend on your vocational profile and your medical records. Not that there's not incompetent people, but how old are you, Michael? Harry says, I have a child. I'm her legal guardian. SSA told me no. Yeah, I don't know that legal guardian counts. Did you adopt? But if she was adopted, they said yes. That's right. Because legal guardian, you can end that tomorrow. You have no commitment. None. Dean, I've been 5150 held a few years ago. I assume that's your involuntary commitment in your state. Is that the code section? There's every state's got it. Every state's got one. 320 or 80 something. And I've been telling my psychologist about the voices and symptoms for the last 3 months. Oh, go to a psychiatrist maybe. Seems pretty clear cut. Is there a reason she is not diagnosed yet? You have to ask her. Have you asked her? What did she say? I mean, do you know she hasn't diagnosed you? Have you looked at your records? They don't usually tell you necessarily, particularly when it's mental health. I'm diagnosing you with a broken arm. That's schizophrenia. 3 months isn't very long. That may be part of it too. So can't really say there, Dean. Godchild. Oh, I love it. As you can see, I'm 60, and when I was accepted at 58 for 6 out of the 11 years that I filed. Now I have an internist appointment February 8th. I'm no better, spend all day in a chair, dizzy stomach, cramps every day. Hey, dogs! Quiet. I haven't, somebody came in, so they're really loud. They put the horn on. Stranger in the house. Stranger. Now I'm at he's internist. You mean a consultative exam on February 8th? I'm no better, spend all day in a chair, dizzy stomach, cramps every day. Should I be worried? So I think what you're saying is you're having a CE, a consultative exam, and they're sending you to you said when I was accepted at 58. So you've been, I don't know what your medical impairments are. I don't know. I don't know. But I wouldn't be worried. If you've been treating and keeping your medical records up and all that, just, tell them what's going on. I'm not sure exactly what's going on. Danny, bad decision. Oh no, I didn't get the mail. I'm getting mad later when you get a chance. Look at the mess I made. Oops, trying to get truck and stuff. Are you talking about a decision with us, Danny? Or are you talking about the truck being stuck in the backyard with the snap? When you didn't listen to mom. Sorry guys, outside story. I got it up, but mom's yard is not okay. You probably have mud time pulled up the grass grows back. So I when I saw this, I thought bad decision, like we got a bad decision on recon, which would tick me off too. But it's not necessarily that annoying, it's not that unusual. So you're doing everything pretty good there, Danielle. I wish every client would do it as much as you do. Terry says, vocational rehab, Department of Labor or Education, state agency. Yeah. Okay. So you chose, if you opt to do it, you opt to do it. I don't think it's bad. They found me disabled. So does that mean you're collecting SSD? I thought you were in the middle of a case. Thanks for the input. I love coming here for information and support. Thank you for building a positive community online. Oh, I love it. Thank you. I appreciate it. And you're welcome. I'm not sure here, Carrie. Do you have a claim pending or you're already on SSD? Refresh me. And now you're going to go try to get a part-time job. Just let me know about that. John says, everyone give her a thumbs up. It helps her algorithm. Oh, a like. Oh, it does? Yeah. Helps defeat all those people that do all the trolls. Jenny says, yeah, but personally, I consider her even saying breaks every 2 hours good because she acknowledges the need for breaks. Humans need breaks. That's considered standard for all not disabled people. If they need it more than 2 hours, that's when they're considered excessive. Just saying. I get what you're saying, Jen. You're saying, yeah, but a lot of people plug through the day without any breaks, even though legally we're supposed to have them. Yes, that's true. And so it's not really quantified. I get what you're saying. I think it's the most minimal, possibly, a benefit. I don't think it's a big deal. If she had said something that you need more than the normal break that the Department of Labor acknowledges that everybody should have, then that would be more meaningful. And the reason why she said breaks every 2 hours is because she knew that it was a loser. That would be a loser statement. It would be supporting a loss, not the opposite. She completely ignored absences. We have that video on that, remember? Came out maybe last week. Do you have quoted medical evidence in your file from doctors saying she has to be in bed 4 days a month, or what kind of evidence was there of absences besides your own statements? That's where it gets kind of in the weeds if you don't have that. Could have done the same thing for breaks. Well, she's addressing, she kind of did. If all you need is breaks every 2 hours and then you don't need any absences, she doesn't have to tell you. She doesn't have to say she doesn't need absences. If she, you know what I mean? Like, you don't, there's a million things that would then be required to be in a decision. You don't address when someone is perfect in something, if that's what your presentation is. You don't say, like for instance, if you look at the ROC, if someone doesn't have finger limitations, it's not mentioned. That means it's constant. That means it's perfect. That's fine. It means there's no notable limitations. So look at it. Seriously, like look at the RFC. You're going to see that it doesn't say everything, because things that are not impaired are not mentioned. It's a residual functional capacity. Things that are left over after you do have limitation. So I think that's the way you kind of have to look at it. I would jump on that. The absences, you probably saw the video, right, Jen? if they are proven, and that is the hardest thing to do, but if they defeat they defeat a denial. They have to be proven, and of course, you know how like there's proof, proof, little crumbs, but whether it's enough to make it conclusive for the ALJ is a more difficult, thing. More difficult. You can't assume that they're going to weigh those things as being conclusive that someone would be out of work 4 days a month or whatever. It's the first remand. I moved my case. I don't know what that means. I moved my case. Oh, you asked for a new judge? Yeah, because you were saying like discrimination and stuff. So, good Lord. Heather says this message will be insanely separated from my original questions. I know. I might not. It's SSA asking about ER. Oh, visits for pain. I'm doing a headache questionnaire now that they sent me. I don't go to the ER because. Yeah. So it's the SSA asking it on the pain thing. Maybe explain it. Yeah. Because you know what they're looking for. They're looking for a no, so they can be like, not bad enough for the ER. Like you can just kind of read their mind. So, and they're also, in fairness, people sometimes forget to put ER and hospitals on their application form. I see it all the time with our intake. People put in all the doctors are seeing, and they forget that they went to the hospital, for surgery or something. So I would explain it. And particularly when it comes to migraines, because those are so kind of nebulous to the view of other people, right? Heather says, I don't want to be a frequent flyer. I know. And you don't want to use the ER as your treating source. And chances are it would start easing up before I'm even out of the waiting room. I hear about people waiting. Yes, exactly. And I wonder if that would be one of the few instances where I would say, if they give you a tiny little space for that explanation, maybe you should say see attached. Now, don't give them a whole page, but say, I cannot tolerate being in the ER because they make you wait in a chair for 4 hours and I need to be lying down in the dark, and they don't offer that while you're waiting for triage. And they do not take, people with migraines right in, if you're not, I mean, you can kind of say that. It's not going to win. It's not going to make you win your case. They're going to be winning it on the medical records. At that level, it's all a checkbox stuff. But, I don't think it hurts to have it in there because you're going to be going to a judge probably. I think you're young, right, Heather? You probably will. But what you're doing now is laying the evidence that he's going to see later. And you explain this here, and then when you explain it, you might choose to bring it up at hearing, and it's going to coincide with what you said on your pain report. You know what I mean? So it's setting it up for later, which is also a setup for if you have to appeal an ALJ denial. So there's so much that we do that is for later. You got to do what you got to do now, but we try to additionally tailor it so it covers what is needed later, what will serve you twice and be a double whammy instead of not having that. That's just something you can consider when you do the answer. And normally I say keep everything short and sweet and within the spaces, because that adjudicator does not want to read your diary, does not want to read your life story. And I see people doing very long things, and they use all sorts of flowery language, and they use full phrases and full sentences, and I'm like, I could have said the same thing in 4 words. That would have gotten the same point across to them. But that's a skill that's developed, and it's hard to, I know when you're speaking about yourself, it's harder. But I think in that migraine thing in the ER, that might be worth doing an attached paragraph. And because you're taking your abortives, and The abortive will possibly do what the hospital would suffice to do. Obviously, you don't have a hydration problem, or else that would be a different story. But if the abortive pill, meaning for the migraine folks, gets you to start the process of it going away, and you can lie in bed in the cold dark, so it's going to be gone within 12 hours. If you go to the ER, they're invariably going to make me wait between 3 and 6 hours to get in, because I'm not life-threatening like most of the other people in the ER are, and I understand that. So no, I have made the decision with my doctor, even say, if it's legally true, that this is the proper protocol. That going to the ER is going to be more painful than going to my room with my abortive medications and my dark and my cold compress and my puke bucket. You know. My most intense headaches, Heather says, pains that stop me in my tracks typically don't last more than an hour. Makes total sense. So if that's what you're describing in your headache thing anyway, that the severity is about an hour, if I'm in a calm environment before they start easing up for me and I'm able to rest a while. The chaos at the ER would possibly be, and oh my gosh, it could be loud, it's bright, there's odors. I don't know if they affect you with a migraine. Sometimes you got like stinky people around you. Just saying. You can't lie down. You have to sit up. I mean, that would be completely contrary to, on the very rare occasion I've had what I would consider migraine level headache, and they're not frequent. That would be a nightmare. That'd be a nightmare. So I hear you. I totally hear you. Tony's talking about Tasha. I was going to ask if she was potty trained. No. No. Now, I'm not sure if that would be possible, even if she was a baby when I got her and said she was 30. Well, 31 or 34. I just got her this year. Adopted her from a little old lady who's downsizing her bird. She's 84, so I think she's trying to take it easy because she's not feeling so great. She does have one more that I would love to let's see them be friends again, because Lexi, my daughter, showed me a picture of this bird and the other bird. It was the same size but a different kind. I think it's like an Amazon gray or something. On the same perch, so they're friends. They're not going to attack each other. I don't put my little bird up here while this bird's out, because I'm afraid all she has to do, what if she wants to go bite her? She would kill the little bird. Snap the neck. His beaks are strong. Dark says, thanks for your videos. I just had my hearing. It went so fast, about 28 minutes. That's not unusual. So that's fingers crossed for you, Dark. I hope it's a win for you. Old Grizz says, love seeing Tasha. She makes me smile when everything seems hopeless. Not everything's hopeless. You got some good things there at home. I know that. Have to enjoy the little things when we can, right? Yeah, like the people at home and stuff, right? For sure. Carrie says, I about forgot. Does it hurt an SSI or an SSDI application if I cash in my 401k? I need the cash. Okay, first of all, you can't get SSI with that 401k. That's an asset that would put you over the resource limit. So let's throw the SSI out the window. And the SSDI, no, it doesn't hurt it at all. That's not earned income. You can have and spend that for sure. Remember, SSDI is Social Security Disability Insurance benefits. You paid to have benefits paid to you if you become unable to work substantially and gainfully at a job, at any of the many occupations that exist in the national and regional economies in substantial numbers, and you're not doing so, you're not earning it, work activity. 401k is not work activity. That's just money in your account. So you're good. It's an asset you have that you're considering spending down. I've seen a lot of people have to spend their 401k down to nothing. I hope you don't have to do that, Carrie. I hope that doesn't happen. Christina, you are awesome. Ta-da! Please share the live stream. And like, what did we say? Like, share, and subscribe. Okay. Oh, she says, press the like button. The like button. And hello, Tasha, beautiful girl. See, they're saying hi. You gonna come back over? Yeah. Yeah. What are they saying? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Mm. And Tracy says, hello, my case is before appeal after ALJ. Lawyer says I have a good case. Before appeal. So you denied by ALJ. Your lawyer says, nonetheless, you have a good case. Let's take it to appeals counsel. There is no time frame. Appeals counsel, I've seen them take 2 months. I've seen them take almost 2 years, maybe 18 months. That's a waiting game. You can't file again for the same, generally speaking. Like if you have an SSD case, you can't go and file for another one while you have the AC appeal going on. There are very limited and rare circumstances when you can. Okay. So the possible outcome is they remand you and you go back for another hearing with the same judge and hopefully do better that time. Or, and they would do that if they thought the judge forgot to do something he was supposed to do or did something he wasn't supposed to do before he rendered the result. Hello? Well, cracker. I'm just giving you little tiny pieces. You gonna poop on me again? They could reverse it. That's very rare. That's when there is nothing that the judge did wrong. And the findings of the judge legally meant disabled, yet the result came out as not disabled. Those are very rare. I think they might be 1% of the time. It can also happen, part of that 1%, if the judge made the finding of your exertional limit, and by the strict rules, with those limits, you are not disabled under law, and then something changed, your age changed, you tipped over into 50 or 55. And now that very same RFC that the judge found you at, that law now says you're disabled because you're in a different exertional. Then they can reverse as of the date of your birthday. So it'll be reversed with a reverse with a reward as of X date. So there's that. Jen Me says, I saw somewhere they said testify as if you are talking about your worst symptom day. I forget what my conditions are really like because I don't allow myself to be my worst. Well, one camp would say, well, then keep treating yourself to avoid your worst day and then get a job that accommodates that or fix that without accommodation. Another camp, and the one that you should probably consider, is because of my highly structured environment. Maybe it's sheltered. I don't know. If you're not like negotiating your community and I don't know if you are, but if we have people with particularly like severe mental illness who are not in a hospital because they have a very structured and sheltered home environment. The medical evidence is there of this severe diagnosis and stuff. And when people say, well, why, if it's that bad, wouldn't they be? No, the only reason why they're stable because they have this cushion of life around them. If you're not cared for by somebody else, that's probably going to be hard to prove. But in most of the cases I've seen, it's because the family definitely accommodates them and makes it very protective. They don't have to go out in public. They don't have to go do the grocery shopping, things like that. They drive them places so they don't have that stress. What? You're showing them your butt. What happens if I do this? By the way, we're at the 2-hour mark, guys. Yeah, there you go. Hello. Hello. Jen Lee says, hence why I haven't worked a full-time job since 2013. Well, I get it. So if you prove that a full-time job of any nature would be too much stress, and you have to really think about how, you know, what would the you gotta look at all those 12,000 jobs too. I forget you're young, right, Jen? Working with the public is out because after 4 hours, Jen gets very irritable. You can't hold it together and start ripping people new butts. That could also work with coworkers, having to work closely with coworkers. But then you have to think about the jobs where you don't have to do that. So what about that job in the laundry room of a hotel? It's solitude, and you just fold the laundry. What about that? Throw laundry in the washer. It's very, you know, very solitary. What about those jobs? Housekeeping might be similar. So you got to think about those other jobs. And then remember, look at those 4 basic mental task sections that we talk about, those domains, and figure out exactly why at least one of those would be substantial loss in that particular ability that would thwart then all jobs. That one loss of that section. Harry says no, just disabled to. Okay, so you're not disabled from SGA. You just have impairments that need to be accommodated with special jobs. So, all right, you're still in the fight. Okay, so the SSI is out the door. You got the 401k. Don't even worry about that. And that's kind of a blessing in a way. Not that I want you to spend your 401k anyway, but you could get it right now anyway because of the 401k. What are you trying to do? I don't know. Is it LaRocco or LaRocho? LaRocco, I'm going to say, until you tell me otherwise. Hello, Stephanie. Great to binge watch your YouTube expertise channel on everything SSA. Well, thank you. I have been diagnosed with neurocognitive since 3/23 by one of SSA's doctors. Since 12, my record post until 2023. I'm not sure what that means. I'm not catching the last part there, LaRocco. But thank you for the kind words. And if you clear it up, we'll try to answer it before we cut on out of here. Jen says, oops, my 4 mental health hospitalizations that she threw out erroneously. What do you mean she threw them out? They're not in the relevant time period, probably. Is that what happened? Like, she's like, well, that's 10 years ago, blah, blah. I have 10 now. What do you mean she threw them out? They don't actually throw out stuff. So I don't. That when you say throw out evidence, like that's like in state court where things are admissible or not admissible. Here they're always admissible if they're medical visits. So I mean, unless they're like fabricated, and you took someone else's medical records, put your name on them. I mean, I don't get it. I don't get what you're saying, Jen. And long-term treatment says she was wrong, period. You can't just throw out the records with no, well, they don't throw them out. They're still there. I assure you. She might say, I'm not going to give them any weight because they were way before and then she worked after. It depends, you know, I don't know what the details are, but they don't throw them out. And if she says, I'm throwing them out and I'm removing them from the file, that's probably why she got remanded. That's crazy. Yeah, she says, hence the federal remand. I'd like to know exact. I'd like to see the exact. If you don't have to do this, Jen, but I'd be curious about the exact paragraph language. If you could cut and paste it into a post up here, I'm just so curious. Like, how does a judge even say that? Like, they know better. What? You want to go flying? LaRocco 9 says, appeared in front of ALJ in 2023, my first hearing appeal. That's not well, you appealed for ALJ and you had a hearing. In May, I had my second hearing. Oh, wow, you haven't prevailed yet. Is that what you're saying, LaRocco? Let's go back up. Give me a second. Okay. So you had an ALJ hearing. Did you appeal to appeals council and did it get remanded back so you have a second hearing in front of that same ALJ? Is that what you're saying? Or did you get denied by the first ALJ hearing and then you just filed again? Just curious. Tan is in the house. Hi, thank you so much for all you do. You are welcome. You're so welcome. Just making it so far. Hi, my case is denied by appeals council. So now I'm going federal. Any advice on this would be much appreciated. Do you have a federal district court attorney? You could do it yourself as well if you can figure it out. But I would definitely suggest that. And no, I don't have any advice on that at all. Other than it's a good idea, because if you can get an attorney to do it, it means you have a visible chance of prevailing on it, because they're not going to take it if you don't. I will say my bigger advice would be, if your DLI is in the future, date last insured, because you're doing SSD, not SSI, file again right away. Right away. You don't have to use the same lawyers if you don't want to that you used before. This is a new application on the new time frame. It doesn't cover the old stuff that you're going to federal district court on. But while you couldn't file a new when you did appeals council, you're not allowed to have new and old cover and same. You can do it once you are out of appeals council and in federal district court. So I suggest you find out your DLI. It will be in your ALJ denial. One of the paragraphs in the beginning says when you're insured till. That's your DLI. Unless you've still been working, it might be more in the future. But if you haven't worked at all, that is your DLI. So hopefully that's in the future. Fingers crossed for you. And then you need to reapply and get an attorney. Or not attorney rep, that's good. Con says, hubby's in recon. Got a call today to have a memory test. Okay. Do you know what this consists of and what they're looking for? He has long COVID. They're going to check his memory. And that's a whole battery of things. The short term, the working, the this and the that. You could probably go into like ChatGPT and ask, and I bet you it would give you probably a decent response. Nobody Googles anymore, right? Yeah, because so like if someone's memory is so bad that they can't remember something that was said to them 2 minutes ago, for instance, there's other things, but think about all the jobs that you can't do. You know, you came in to work, your boss says, hey, first thing I want you to go to blah, blah. Okay, boss. You go get a cup of coffee. It's now 3 minutes later. You completely forget your boss told you that, but you don't do it. Or you can't remember things, even repetitive things. So that would eliminate the 1 and 2 step simple jobs that they give to the people with the lowest skill set, ability to do more complex work. You might not be able to do that either. So it really depends, or he. But I would maybe chat that, because they could probably give you a real official, the Michigan da-da-da, or the Minnesota blah, blah, blah. You know, all this MNC, you know, all the different tests. They might do, yeah, I mean, following directions. And, you know, if the person can, they'll probably also test, you know, remote memory, like, does he remember the simple things, you know, the mini status exams, like, do you know what the day is? And, you know, when I had my friend and, you know, she could never remember the year when our whole thing was going down in the fall. And I was like, my mind was blown about what was happening and what I couldn't see inside the brain. And we kind of estimate on the month, the day, of the week, and invariably did not know it was 2025. Could not. Was completely pulling out years. It was it was flabbergasting to me. Another example, driving around places in the car, me driving. If the person could not remember how to open a car door, you have to find a latch, pull it, and then you actually push, not with the latch, you latch it and then you push it open with your arm. I mean, I would explain it and it's like, no. And be like, move your hand 2 inches forward. There's the latch. See that latch? And when you see 2 inches forward, it would be like up, like following the commands. And then I'd watch the professionals. Like there was an occupational therapy. It was cognitive occupational therapy, but that was the lady that saved us and said, "I see what you're saying, and yeah, take her to the ER." And that was when I finally got, after 3 months of full time. She lived alone, getting her where she needs to be. It was a nightmare. The medical profession really let me down. In the end, it worked out, but it was only because it was after so much negligence. I can't even speak about it anymore. But anyway, it was all those things, and the ability to remember something from 2 minutes ago was largely gone. Long COVID, John, they call it, that's like a slang thing. Long post-viral symptoms, damages, has been around as long as I've been practicing. I had cases 15 years ago, not a lot, where someone had a virus and they just didn't bounce back. Severe fatigue, brain fog, sometimes neurological pain, peripheral neuropathies. There's been nerve damage that was done during the virus. And that doesn't get healed up just because the cold leaves you. And I say cold loosely. It's not a regular cold, guys. COVID was just exactly the same thing. They just smacked the big famous favorite word around to make it seem all new and extra bad. It's been going on forever. It depends on the person, obviously. Like everyone, all of us probably got COVID. Every single one of us. I mean, some of us were diagnosed because we got the little nasal thing. But after I got diagnosed once, I never went and got diagnosed again. I was like, it doesn't matter to me what I have. I'm still treating it the same way. That was me. I didn't have any serious repercussions. It was really no worse than a cold for me. But some people do, and I know a lot of people. I have clients with long COVID. You're full of some vinegar. And it changes their energy level. It's almost like their mitochondria has been damaged. Fatigue. It could be a plethora of things. But the ones I see across the board for everyone is the fatigue. They have a short window of energy during the day to get their stuff done. Cognitive, memory, and brain fog is another one. And I see the peripheral neuropathy too. Like they got nerve pains, numbness, tingling, and pain in their extremities. Like the nerves are somehow damaged during that, the acute part of the virus, and it just never went away. And maybe they didn't feel it right away either. Like the damage kind of shows up later. Anyway, those are just some of the things of COVID. It could be potential breathing problems too, I think. I mean, there's probably people out there right listening that are long haulers, as we say, but it's been around forever. It's just gotten finally recognition because COVID was such a, it was such a big thing. No, she did. I promise you. What did I ask, Jen? Oh, yeah. No, I believe you. I want to see the language. I'm dying to see the language. It would be cool. Would you want to do that? Just cut and paste it? Just the language. It'd be interesting to see. Like, how did you word that? Like, it's so not appropriate. I'm throwing it out. I mean, it'd be one thing if she said, I'm not considering this in the current time, or I'm not giving it a lot of weight because it was 15 years ago. That's one thing. And that I would expect. But to say I'm throwing it out is weird. LaRocca says, applied since 2012 on my tax record. Okay, that's when you had worked. Then widow's benefits. Oh, widow's benefits. Since 2020. Okay, so you became a widow. How old are you? Still waiting. You have widow's benefits, but you're still awaiting benefits, even though I was invited to a post-entitlement. Okay, I'm not going to understand any of that. I don't really know what's going on with it. If you got widow's benefits since 2020. Oh, widow's benefits. So you're taking the portion of your deceased spouse's PIA as a widow, or the over 60 or over 50. Over 50. Over 50. Right? Over 50, not over 60. And then, but you're still fighting on your own work record from 2012. Is that it? You have that long case going out, but in the meantime, you became a widow, and I'm very sorry to hear that. Condolences on your loss. So that old case is still going on, but you were able to get one. Then you had to be 60 because widow's benefits without proving you're disabled would be 60. Am I getting that right, LaRocca? Am I figuring it out? Not sure about the post-entitlement on 2023. Because you said you lost at your ALJ hearing. So I'm not sure what that is. But it's very interesting. Jen says, exactly, your action is the same as mine. My lawyer is a federal judge, hence why I moved my case. No, they're in the same period. I sent you my decision letter when I first met you. Oh, yeah, that's so far in the archives. Are you kidding? I could probably find it, but it would take me some digging. I don't really have the time. But sometimes I do the quirkiest things at like 10 o'clock at night. You'd be surprised. Like I might be like, I should go to bed, but I'm so curious. So I do. I literally, well, right now, the last 6 months or so, I've been probably working till 10 o'clock at night, nearly every night. When my husband's home, I'm not working till 10. I'm probably working till 6 because I have to hang with him because he's only home 2 days a week and he gets mad at me. Comes in here, he's like, are you coming out tonight? Are you going to come have happy hour? And that's when I move myself out. But that's her favorite time. She just gets to hang with everybody and we all just kind of hang out. It's fun. In our tiny little house, it's ridiculous. But yeah, hello to you too. Jemmy says I can report if you you don't have to do that. Like you said, if you sent it, it's probably attached to an email. I'll try to find it. Okay, I don't want to have to go through that. But I'm just so interesting. Okay. Step 4, it says my case is one love. Okay. Step 4 says my case is in Baltimore, Maryland. Ooh. And you are not from Baltimore or Maryland. Is that fair to say? Step 4, that's going to be an internal step at the field office level. It's not with the DDS, is what I'm thinking. And if it's in Baltimore, Maryland, does that mean potentially they're working up your payments? Because that's where the payment office is. Yay! Can't say for sure, obviously. I don't want to give you false hopes. But that's possible. Rose says, same application since 2012, the widow's 2020, first appeal hearing 2023. What the heck what happened between 2012 and 2023? Now going for my second ALJ appeal in May 2026. Even though I had a post-entitlement appointment. Post-entitlement to what? I mean, you are entitled to widows, so is that what they're referring to? Okay, so that's the question LaRocca's saying. Stephanie, why a post-entitlement and no benefits yet? Well, you are getting widow's benefits, aren't you? So maybe they mean post-entitlement to that. You know what I mean? And then, I don't know. Are you saying you just got a letter about post-entitlement? I mean, you have an ALJ hearing, so the old case hasn't been resolved yet. So I don't know. I'm thinking it has something to do with the fact that you are already entitled to a benefit. And I'm speculating here. And it's the widow's benefit that you've been collecting since 2020. But what are they going to talk to you about? Is it a meeting you're supposed to call them or go there or what? Who's entitlement? Dimple says, greatly appreciate all you do. I appreciate you, Dimple. As we're getting ready to rock and roll, right? Yeah. John B says, my hearing, February 6th. Okay, John. Fingers crossed for you. Report back. You're not going to cry now at the hearing, but stranger things have happened. 2020 is in the house. After I was approved for SSD, I applied for auxiliary benefits for my child, and I was wondering how long it takes from the day it was completed to kick in. As of today, they just got to process the paperwork, so it shouldn't take long. You know, if the kid's eligible, done it. I mean, the right age is basically all you have to prove. Maroka says, long COVID. I have that too, on top of the other diagnosed ailments. If you do have long COVID, guys, or I should say post-viral syndrome or whatever, see a specialist for it. Sometimes the other doctors will discuss it significantly, but a lot of times they won't. So I would do the optics of going to a specialist for that. And it's for evidence building, of course. Everything I talk about is about evidence and legal, not medically you should do that, 2020 says, my SSDI was based on nerve damage. How do you know that, 2020? Unless you had an ALJ decision and he limited it to just nerve damage, but said it was enough to win the day. Usually it's not done that way, though. LaRoca says, I have no SSA benefits yet since my youngest turned 16. Ah, so you were getting widow care of child. We were talking about that earlier today. Up above, I think. So you had, and a kid turns 16 and that stops. Okay. Yeah. Well, under 16, even if they didn't graduate from high school, their benefits, your child got a benefit. And you got the care benefit. Your child also got the benefit of being a dependent survivor. And then he was no longer a dependent when he graduated high school and was 18. So, all right. So you're kind of like starving. What were the post entitlements about? I don't know. Con says, I am sorry about your friend. We used to have so much fun back in the day, I'll tell you. Fortunately, his is not that bad, and it is more not remembering tasks or able to focus. That can be significant enough, though. Like mine is where you have to be in a memory care home. That's the situation we're dealing with. That's extreme, and that's why it's so tragic. The rest of us with our little lapses, and yeah, we definitely can't be rocket scientists, surgeons, medical doctors. Probably I couldn't learn to become a lawyer if I had to do it now. It's just that it's already part of my muscle memory in my brain and my synapses and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Thank goodness that we keep what we have, unless we get like that other kind of, non-normal, disease of the brain. But yeah, if he forgets, that can be pretty significant. Maroka said, I'll be 55 in July, and I received survivors until youngest turned 16. Okay, well, you're either going to win before July as a 54-year-old. But did you say your hearing is really soon? What did you say your hearing was? Maybe you didn't say it. Oh my God, I can't scroll. You did say it someplace. I'm sorry. I just don't know where to see it. Maroka, which one? You're only 55. But you don't receive survivors now, right? You said that ended when your child turned 16. Because that's the only time the child would care, right? I know we're going through this over and over again, guys. Fan Out 2 says, step 4 case in Norfolk, Georgia. Is that step 4 the sequential evaluation process, Fan? Or is that step 4 of the meaningless step 4 when it's been done with the DDS? Sequential evaluation process is done, and so they're denied or it's awarded, but you don't know which one yet. And the field office is calling it their step 4, which is meaningless for our purposes. John B says 3 to 6 minutes before adjust sitting and 15-minute max sitting before I have to lay on the floor. Oh my gosh, walk with a walker and only go 240 feet before needing to rest. Heaviest lift is my walker, and that kicks my butt. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Age 57. So where are you at in the process? Did you tell me that already? You probably did up above. I'm just blasting through these, so then I don't remember what each person necessarily said. Well, hopefully it's going well. I forget where you said you're at, John. If you need me to look at it, shoot us a contact. You can do that with that link in the upper left-hand corner at joydisability.com. Just tell them, just put in there somewhere your screen name and say you spoke with me today, and I said that you could come straight over. Christina, you're so awesome. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. One Love says yes. I asked the question I never. Yeah, when you guys give a response, it's going to be way, way down. You almost have to say, with regard to this question, here's my answer. Because I'm not going to remember. And I hate taking too much time scrolling. It's annoying for everybody. Okay, Deanna's in the house. Hi, Deanna. What is closed period and who would it benefit? Closed period is when you were disabled, they agree you were disabled, and that you were payable. And again, you were insured, and it was within that 12 months of when you applied, and then you became not disabled. So they'll pay you from the time you were disabled plus the 5-month waiting period, so not that 5-month waiting period, and all the way up to when your medical records say you improved and they found you were able to go back to work. So an ALJ can find that. I hope you're not saying this for a specific reason, Deanna. I don't think so, right? So you get paid for that closed period, and then you would not be paid anymore. You can do an expedited reinstatement if you get worse again. It also can happen if you didn't medically get better, but you found a job that you could do that was over SGA, whether it's part-time or other. You're not medically improved, but you found a special job. They're going to have to close it when you started doing that too, for legal technical reasons. And that is when you could do, actually that's when you could do the expedited reinstatement. The other one you really have to probably apply again. 2020, super sweet. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So closed period is some money, Deanna, but that's it. You're not getting perspectives. Like a little lump sum. John B said, John TB. Oh, we got 2 Johns. No, I'm confused. All right. I'm really glad that I found you last week. You've helped me just listening to you. And I'm still going to reach out to you when I get my medical records. All right, John, you don't have to wait for your medical records to reach out. That won't make a difference to the result of the conversation. Nobody I talk to has their medical records, and we don't expect them to get them. So don't worry on that account if that's what you're waiting for. All right? Time is really more of the essence than that. Oh, yeah. See, you guys got me tricked. There was 2 Johns. Okay. All right. Yeah. So just a reminder, if we're talking about something and then I ask a question to clarify, and it's going to be a bit, because I'm going to keep going down the line and you're not going to get addressed until I get to you again, cut and paste the question or something, because I am not going to remember the scenario necessarily. Sometimes I do, but sometimes I don't. Meow's in the house. Just received my approval. Woo! Oh, that's so sweet. She says, I couldn't have done it without all of your help. Here she says. Oh, that is the nicest thing. Thank you so much for saying that. That's really sweet. That's really sweet. That's not a client, guys. That is a visitor. So that's really sweet. Thank you for that. And I'm so happy for you. That's like a little golden moment of the day. Roka says, right, Stephanie, no SS benefits since 2021. Oh, wow. So how do you support yourself? I can't work or earn any income. I'm always trying to do something to keep my mind awake. Oh, wow. You can't do anything part-time, you think? Because if you lose at hearing, you have no more DLI. You could get SSI if you're poor enough, but I assume someone else is paying your rent or your mortgage and all that stuff, or who's paying your basic living. I bet it's hard. I'm so sorry. And then without your partner too, doesn't help. Oh, sounds good. Returning to the medical records. Yeah. No need for the medical records. Yeah. No. One of my sweet clients, newer client, thought we couldn't apply until we got all the medical records. And I said to her, no, are you kidding? They don't wait for the medical records to apply because the SSA is going to do a lot of the lifting on that. You're going to be ordering the medical records we tell them about. We tell them about there's updated stuff, order this, they're going to do that. When we have to keep an eye on them, make sure they're doing it and successful. When they don't communicate with us that well, that can be harder. Sometimes they go make a super fast decision. But the official medical records that you would otherwise have to pay for are when they're ordered by the SSA and receive it, you don't have to pay for them. And we don't pay for your medical records. So you definitely want the SSA to thankfully still have that responsibility to make the requests, get them in, make a second request if your doctor's blowing them off. And it can get a little bit of a dance. But in the end, it tends to work out well. And it saves you money. Delia's in the house. Congratulations, Meow, she says. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, guys. I think we're done with questions. And it is, 3:32. So it's been 2.5 hours. We do tend to go over time sometimes, don't we? It was great seeing everybody. A lot of good questions. A lot of good questions. And always feel free to do them midweek in, in any post under any video. May or may not see it the same day. That gets a little put on the back seat. Right now is super busy with hearings, getting all those hustle things going and done and ready. A lot of late nights, working on some workflow I think I told you about that will hopefully enable us to absorb more of those 1%ers. The ones that there's just not enough lawyers that will take. And many of them would win their case. Many won't, but many would. They just had the right help. So it's kind of like a workflow thing. It's been costing a lot to try to develop it, but I'm hoping that it works the way I'm hoping. It's been a lot of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Sometimes 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. But we're way further ahead than when we started. So I'm hoping within the next few months it'll be a done deal. Anywho. Oh, Delia. Need a consultant for a new illness in my immediate family. Well, of course. Just send them over here, and Liz will set them up, or whoever. They need a consult. Are they disabled? Like, I mean, you don't tell me here. Or they just need to file, which would be a whole different thing, and that doesn't cost a consult to do that. So, anyway, we'll see. All right, good to see you, Delia. Thank you. Oh, Grizz, I'm so glad you popped in. That's very nice. Hope your better half is doing well. She's super. All right, guys. I will talk to you later. Have a great week. Next Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And 12 o'clock, the dailies come out. So please support those. That would be great. And again, if you have any videoable issues you want me to do, you can always share those too, and I'll do them. Thanks, guys. Bye.